How does a woman who's working in the media industry as an engineer with a career that she enjoys and loves become involved in a worldwide healing prayer ministry? Cheryl, welcome to Focus.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you and Father Faricy could be here to join us.
We're glad to be here.
I told Father Faricy that, I felt like I knew him because Char Vance has been talking about him. She's been talking a lot about you too, so
all good things.
It's all been good. Don't worry. And you just came from the Philippines, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
You were there for a few weeks?
We were there for 3 weeks.
And you have taken some vows, haven't you? You're no longer working in the media industry, are you?
I retired from the industry about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I had cancer. I had breast cancer during one of my business trips overseas. And so I came back to the United States. And I went through chemotherapy, 5 surgeries, and radiation. And I had a conversion, sort of. I had a biopsy, and it's a surgical biopsy. Mm-hmm. So I was on the operating table, and the doctor started cutting into my flesh. And they didn't numb enough so I can feel the knife cut into my flesh. So I told the doctor, I said, that hurts. He said, well, don't worry about it. We'll give you some more and numb that area. And so then, and he kept cutting into it. And I said, ouch. And then I realized at that moment that he lied to me because he's going to have to continue to cut into that. Otherwise, that can be infection. And so at that moment, I decided, and I have not prayed or thinking about God for a long, long time. And that moment, I said, okay, if you help me to get through this, you can give me all the sicknesses you want. And I don't want any women or my sisters, and I have six sisters, to be in this situation or have cancer or have any sicknesses. If you just get me through. And he did. And so that's my conversion, coming back to the Catholic Church.
Now you say coming back to the Catholic Church. Let's just backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born in Vietnam.
And how old were you when you came to the United States? How did you get here?
Well, Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, they call it now. And during the Civil War between the North and the South, so I witnessed the whole thing. I seen people die on the street and running from one place to the next. And some members of my family, we thought that we've lost our father and my sister and my brother-in-law. And so the communists took over Vietnam in 1975. Right. And they took a lot of our properties and money. And so we didn't feel that we have any freedom. And so my mother thought that she gave us a choice, even as I was only 10, and she said, you have a choice. Either you stay here, or I can pay people and you can leave. And but you don't regret whatever decision you make will be yours.
Cheryl, I've got to stop you for a minute. You were 10 years old and you had to make this choice.
Right.
I mean, I've got an 11-year-old son, and right now I could just cry at the thought of that, what your mom had to put before you.
Right. And because she doesn't want to make the decision for us, and she doesn't want that we will regret later on, because even though you have money and you can have prestige, but you don't have freedom, your life worth nothing. And so that was important. And so I made the decision to leave Vietnam, and I said, yes, I'll take that.
So they sent your siblings and everyone else back on their boat, and did they sail away?
Yes. They took off. The ship took off with me.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I was kidnapped at sea. Well, after they finished fishing, they go to the port to sell the fish. And so they would tell me, don't tell the police that you were with us, because they could go to jail for that. And they gave me jewelry and things, and I refused to take. So they called a taxi, and they told them to take me to the police station. And after that, they sent me to a little village. And these are Malaysian people who live in Thailand. And I stayed with them for a month. And then they took me to a refugee camp where I was united with my siblings.
That's what I couldn't wait to ask you. Did you get to see them again?
Yes.
Wow. So you were with them,
Mm-hmm.
and were you thinking, how am I going to, you wanted to get further away, or that wasn't where you were intending to stay, or was it?
Well, there's a transition before we can go to any countries, for example, the United States or Canada or Australia.
Okay.
So that's where we united. But it was disappointed because my siblings believed that I was raped, and the people from the boat, they all were there at the refugee camp. So I was sort of isolated from my siblings, and I didn't really stay with them. So I stayed with friends instead until 5 months later. We were sponsored by my older sister, and I came to Washington State in 1981.
How did that make you feel when your siblings, you were isolated from them? Was that
I was
really
worried.
hard?
I was worried about them, and they worried about me, and I thought they died, and they thought that I was dead. And so when we were united, we were very happy. But then I was disappointed that they adamantly believed that I was raped when I wasn't. And so that was kind of create a division between me and my siblings in it. And I read the Bible when I was 7 years old, from front to back. And
when you were 7, you read the whole Bible?
Yeah. So and I loved the church, and at 7 years old, that's when I received my vocation to the consecrated life. But I just never wanted to talk about it, and my family especially. I mean, we grew up with priests and nuns around us. I go to school, the nuns taught me, and we're always surrounded by priests and nuns in our lives.
Cheryl, how is a vocation to the consecrated life different from joining a religious order?
Well, I actually entered the Carmelite in 2002. Mm-hmm. I felt God's call after my conversion, and so
that was after the breast cancer.
After the breast cancer, retired from working as an engineer. So I told the Lord, because my life was pretty empty. I had a lot of money, but I have no time to spend or anything. So I asked the Lord if, and before that, I got into sort of psychic and all that kind of thing.
New Age stuff?
Not so much New Age. This is worse than New Age, actually. I mean, pretty high places, witch, and but I didn't know any better because that was a low point of my life, and so I got into that. And then because of my breast cancer, I had a conversion, and so I started going back to the church. Also, at that point, I was ready because I told myself I was ignorant. I didn't know my faith. And I based my faith on the priests, the nuns, and my family and other people, and I didn't know God.
Where did you go next? I'm thinking, you've been in 2 convents, you've stopped working in your main career. What do you do?
Well, I didn't tell you that I gave up everything, money and properties and everything before I entered the Carmelite. So I practically have nothing. But the trust that I have in God, I knew that He called me to this. He's going to take care of me. And so I came back to California. And in prayers, He never leave me hungry. I will have a place to live. So I don't know how to describe that. Then during prayer, He just said, Cheryl, I want you to consecrate yourself to me. I want you to take vows. And that was it. And so I think the end of 2006, He said, consecrate it to me on Christmas Day at noon. Well, if you never suffer, then you really don't have any compassion, and you don't know where the other person is coming from. And so I'm really grateful for all the things that the Lord allowed to happen in my life. And I wouldn't change a thing. And I wouldn't change any trials. And I remember one time in prayer, because I was always in pain because of the suffering that I went through life. And so I always carry so much stress, and I'm always in pain. And so I asked the Lord, because I cheated death 3 times. Mm-hmm. And so I said, why didn't you let me die when, these people are trying to kill me? And He said, I have pay a very high price for you. And it's not that He had big plans for me, but simply because He loves me. That's it.